So I already showed you how I get rid of popcorn ceiling in the last video. Check that out if you haven't already seen it. Today I'm going to show you rehabbing a guest bedroom from floor to ceiling. So just finishing up removing the popcorn ceiling. If you haven't seen the other video, go check it out. Or basically it's vinegar and water. You soak it in and then it scrapes off the popcorn ceiling a lot easier. I go into detail in other videos, so I'm not going to go into detail here. But you have vinegar water on all your walls and your ceiling from the overspray. You need to clean that off before you can paint your surfaces. And I'm also removing all the hardware because it's outdated and ugly. And then I also need to mud up all the holes. But make sure you get all that vinegar water off really good with a clean rag, constantly cleaning your rag so you have a clean surface for the paint to bond to. If you're mudding up all the little nail holes and stuff and you're totally worried about consistency with the rest of the textures, you might want to get a little bit of sandpaper and just scuff it up, make it match the rest of the texture better. But I'm not too worried about that. I like the way it turns out. It's close enough. No one's going to notice it. They're not analyzing the wall that much. Most people are buried in their phone anyways. Now for the most part, the walls and the ceiling are nice and clean. No more vinegar smell. Now let's get rid of this disgusting carpet. Just get a box cutter, razor blade, or they even have like a carpet knife thing. Cut small sections, then roll it up nice and tight, and then haul it off to a dumpster. For me, I'm just chucking them out the window, let the neighbor deal with it. Kidding, well, I am dumping out the window, but I have a dumpster I'm going to fill up. And you see all that junk on the carpet, that was from the popcorn ceiling being removed. So that's why if you're not ditching your flooring, you definitely want to put down painter's tape or some sort of cloth that's going to catch all that debris when it falls from the ceiling, because that makes quite the mess. And just like everything else in this house, there's always a surprise, and this room gave several surprises. The first big surprise was there's 2 carpets underneath, and the idea here is people keep the old carpet for added insulation to make it more comfortable to walk on. This is really a bad idea though. If you want to do it right, you want to rip out the old carpet before putting a new carpet in. Imagine all the pet stains, urine, wear and tear on the carpet, like your traffic patterns. It's going to wear the carpet quicker than the other. So you put the new carpet on top of the old carpet, it's going to show the wear patterns really quick. And then also the smell is going to seep through the new carpet, and then both carpets stink. And then also you see the edges, those little pieces of wood, they're called tack strips. It's hard to get a double layer tack strip. So you're kind of setting yourself up for failure if you decide to keep the old carpet just for saving money by not having to take it out to the dump. And then also you can see that they glued foam down for padding on the carpet. You can see the new carpet came up really easy. So there's really nothing holding the carpet in its place, which is just going to make it wear out that much quicker. And that's pretty much it for ripping the carpet out. But then the padding had to be ripped out as well. Still have to pull the tack strip out. And I didn't leave the padding in there because, for one, it stunk. The whole house stunk, and so it was just like a sponge holding in all the old smells. And then also I'm putting in laminate flooring, and I want the surface the flooring is laying on to be as smooth as possible. And you can see this foam is not one solid sheet. If it didn't stink and it was a perfect solid sheet, I would consider keeping it, but it was neither of those. So it had to go. If you know of an easier way to get carpet foam off, feel free to let me know in the comments so my life is a little bit easier on my next project. But we just felt like it was easiest using a putty knife, and it came up fairly quickly working as a team. So once it was all scraped clean, disinfectant was sprayed on it. If you really wanted it baby smooth, you could probably rinse like a deck sander and sand it down back to the original wood. But it's good enough for us. The smell's gone and it's a flat surface. So both issues were resolved. Next, we had to remove the tack strip, which is what you see is going on right here. And now that all the tack strips are gone, we're just going to scrape it one more time and try to get any other excess that might have been close to the tack strips or that I might have missed. And another coat of disinfectant just to play it safe. And now on to a funner part of the project, painting. And for the ceiling, you always start at the top and work your way down. So ceiling first. And I'm painting it just a basic white. It's a 5-gallon bucket you can get at Lowe's or Home Depot or something. It's even called ceiling paint, I'm pretty sure. But started off with the big roller, and the problem with the project was I was honestly having way too much fun. So about halfway through, I switched out and got a little roller. In hindsight, I guess that was kind of dumb because there's so much more in the house that needed to be painted. So I should have been working a little bit faster, but I sped it up so you don't have to watch the video slower. Then after that, I painted the one accent wall. And one thing I learned from HGTV, and I'm not an artist and I don't have an eye for decoration, so I'm taking their advice, is the furthest wall from your entryway, you paint that as your accent wall, and that helps make the room appear or feel larger. So I am painting this ridiculously slow, so I sped it up for you. Again, painting is like a therapy for me, and it's way cheaper than therapists, so I enjoy it. After painting the accent wall, now it's time to paint the rest of the room. That door right there goes to a really tiny bathroom. In the future, I'm going to rip that out and turn it into a master bathroom for the other bedroom on the other side of the hall. And so it'll just be a solid wall here. But for now, it needs to be a door so we can close off the bathroom, because the bathroom, just like the rest of the house, really stinks. Thankfully for the camera, I noticed the glare on the wall, so there were some spots that I missed with the vinegar water. So I'm just giving it an extra wipe down, and then I am going to mud all the holes from the nail holes and screw holes over all the years in this house, and then we can get to painting it. One upgrade I did to this house as I go that I would recommend if you are building as either flipping a house or if you're building a rental is tamper resistant outlets, and they're really good. You can advertise your house as baby proofed, and it's only a couple cents more per outlet to swap them out that way. And if you have a baby, or if you sell or rent to someone who ends up having a baby, it would be nice to have that feature. So I just switched out the old plates with new plates that are tamper resistant. Also, I have a little bit of OCD, so I always have to make every screw on the faceplate perfectly vertical. Now I'm going to paint the window trim white, but I didn't use the same paint as the ceiling. You can see over there I used Valspar ceiling paint for the ceiling. That ceiling paint's kind of watered down or weak, whatever it is. So this other stuff's a little bit thicker, and so it should hold up to use and abuse for people opening windows and blinds and whatnot. So that's what I used for the window. At first, I tried painting the window without taping it, but realized I don't have that steady of a hand, so then I had to tape it. And in case you're wondering why I didn't actually tape the window too, the house probably has never had the windows cleaned professionally, and so basically it's a construction cleanup job, and I actually have experience in window cleaning, so it's easier for me to just do the construction cleanup than the time it would have wasted to tape it off, because the whole window needed to be scraped down anyways because there's so much junk on it. And for the doubting Thomases out there, look at that, I'm a window cleaner. I'm using a fresh razor blade to do this. You want it at a 45-degree angle. Warning, if you don't have experience in this, be careful and or don't do it, because if you use the wrong angle, you're going to scratch or crack your glass really fast. But that's the window getting rehabbed. Now back to the painting part, and rewatching this video while I'm editing, I'm thinking something's wrong with me. I'm not sure why I decided to brush a massive wall with a brush and a paint bucket. And I can't even say I was listening to anything. It was dead silent in the video. So that's weird. But I do a lot of thinking. And it's a new house that I just moved to, a new state I moved to. So a lot of time to ponder and plan out like the strategies of this new house and all the projects that have to be done with it. And a little bit of free therapy. Then we get to the flooring part of the situation. Now, my last house, I had the same laminate flooring, and I liked it so much I decided to do basically the entire house with this laminate. And so starting off, I do have the same laminate in the hallway, and so this is kind of setting the mood for the whole room, so I'm trying to line it up perfectly because I don't want to really get one of those room breaker pieces. I don't know what they're called, but I wanted it one continuous piece if possible. So the first line really mattered, getting it straight, and it was a little bit of a battle, but I finally got it. And just to make sure the rest of that foam, any extra pieces I might have missed, I had a rigid wire brush, and I just brushed out the track of the next piece. And once I built up a little bit of a trash pile, just vacuum it up. Pretty simple. If you don't have that metal tool to whack it with the hammer, you can use just a cut off scrap piece of the wood, but you don't ever want to bang on the actual wood that you're putting down, because it's not real wood and it's just gonna smash it to pieces.
Let me adjust. Kind of redneck in this, but yeah, I got rid of the popcorn ceiling, and now it's not a smooth ceiling, it's more of like an orange peel texture ceiling, and that's good enough for me. I also got the laminate flooring, Lowe's. I love this stuff. It's cheap, it's a neutral enough color that it fits with a lot of different colors, and it seems like it's not too loud in a trend, so it'll stick around for a long time. And then I also got this darker green, I guess it is, and tanner color. I stole these from a catalog so I didn't have to guess and get the wrong color. And then, so if you look over here, the nightmare for today, this wall. So I actually had this all painted, and I'll show you, I had a little bit of signs of water damage at the bottom, and I thought, I could probably just paint over that and that'd be good. Maybe I lucked out, because this is on the second floor. I knew there was no water lines or pipes or anything behind the walls that could have busted, but there's obviously signs of water damage down here at the bottom, and I'm assuming there were signs that this was a kid's bedroom, so I assumed they left the window open, water came in from rain or something, or a sprinkler, and it came down here. And I cracked it open, made like a little 4" by 4" hole, and I saw crumbling insulation in the bottom, and I thought, you know what, I gotta rip all the drywall out, at least under the window. So I was gonna cut out this section right here in the window, and then the more I dug into it, I was like, I gotta keep going. So I kept pulling back till I had at least one section like this right here, one section that didn't have any water damage, and then I knew I could stop. So I'm gonna remove all the insulation that you can see that doesn't have drywall. That side I went 2 spaces over just in case, and plus because I missed the 2x4, if I'm gonna be totally honest with you. So a couple things I noticed. This is, I don't know the proper name of it, I'll put it here because I'm gonna research it. But it's like that spray and foam where you see these little holes, it looks like a mouse dug a hole in the plastic. That's actually not a mouse. That they drill the hole in through the drywall, and then they stick a hose in there and they pump this foam junk in there. That's what you're actually seeing. And one thing I noticed, this house was built in 1979. It's now 2021. So granted, the insulation is old, but people think that this is superior. I just want to show that over time, it actually does shrink a little bit and crack. And way up there, you can see like a good 4" gap of, oh, well, you can't see it. I'll get you a better shot here in a second. Up there, you got like a 4" gap where there's no insulation whatsoever. So as you can see, this part doesn't even have water damage on it, and it's just over time, it's compressed and it's separated from the 2x4s. So you have a decent sized gap that your temperature is gonna be lost through all these little cracks. And then it's so dramatic that it shifted and it fell further down. And this was allegedly tight. You can see right here, you can see how the foam was originally stuck to the 2x4s when they first pumped it in. You know, it's fairly old, but this part right here these 2 columns have no water damage. It's just old in time. And then these parts right here, they got a little bit of water damage. You can see some more water damage right here, and it kind of stops there. That's why I took it one more beam out. And then these ones, this one, the foam, when they put the little nozzle in there to pump the foam, they missed the thing. And so all the foam was pumped on this side. So it was pressed between the plastic and the drywall. So you can see like there's a giant air gap there. And then these 3 sections right here, because of the water damage, I'm assuming, so these entire 3 panels were just hot air just escaping right out right there, and all the cold air coming right in. So big money waster. And then because of the condensation and moisture from the rain and or sprinklers, basically put mold back there. So now I'm gonna have to treat the 2x4s and the plywood for mold. And then once that's been treated and the floor a little bit, then I can go ahead and re-insulate. And then they just packed in the pink insulation That's garbage. Don't use that if you're gonna insulate around a window. Get the canned foam. Make sure it's not just any canned foam. It has to be specifically for windows and doors. If you use normal canned foam, it'll actually foam too much and you could potentially crack your windows. So make sure you use canned foam designed for windows and trim, windows and doors. But this pink foam, that doesn't work. That's not gonna cut it. So apparently whatever that insulation junk is that they put in there, if it gets water damage to it, it basically shrinks to nothing. So that's literally bare plywood behind there. There's no insulation. So a couple problems we had going on there I'm gonna have to work on. But basically just wanna show you what the situation is here and the progress report we have on it. I just ordered some blinds at Lowe's. They got it on sale. Sale right now ends today, so sorry if you missed it. I'll let you know if I know of any other future sales. Just some cheap blackout blinds that will get the job done. May add curtains later, but for now. So the next step, rip all this out, and then I'm gonna have to treat it for mold, and that's never fun, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So I'll remove all the drywall, vacuum it up really good. I got a HEPA filter on the shop vac, and make sure there's no mold whatsoever. Then I'll wipe down all the walls and the ceiling, and then I'll soak all the 2x4s on this side of the plywood with all the mold killing chemicals. I'll show you that process as well. And then it should be good to go. Put fresh insulation in, put the drywall back on, texture, paint it. Then I can finally finish the floor. I'm so close to finishing. In fairness, I should have not put the floor in here until I knew all the walls were good. But again, I thought I was gonna be able to cheat my way through that wall, and then curiosity got the best of me. I had a peek to see what the condition was. Plus the temperature changing in the room. I knew there was something going on, and I just had to get behind the wall. I'm glad I did. But once I get that fixed, get the flooring done, it'll look good. One of the downsides of buying a house that you refurbish, it's great because you got sweat equity and you make a lot of money that way when you go to resell it, especially if you stay in the house for 2 years and you got tax benefits. See your accountant, I'm not a tax expert. But living in the house while you're renovating, especially if it's like a moldy house or something, it is much more difficult. You have to know that's gonna be a stressor, you know, it's gonna stress you out. But that's also where you get the discounts. Most buyers are afraid of buying a house full of mold because they don't wanna live in it. So if you don't have kids and you're single, then it's probably worth living in it. And if you're married and they're crazy like you, then you could probably still live in it. But if you have kids, you probably wanna reconsider living in a house that has to be repaired because you're gonna have all sorts of equipment laying around and everything. Obviously, it's a big mess. So anyways, next step, I'm gonna go ahead and rip all this out, put it in sealed bags, dispose of it properly, and disinfect the tar out of this room.
So now I put like 5 or 6 layers of that mold kill stuff on it, and I'm installing rock wall insulation. I really like this stuff. I know you can put other things in there to get a higher R rating, but I like that because it's basically fireproof, and it should hold up over time. But mainly the fireproof aspect is my favorite thing I like about it. And then I finished up the flooring real quick. I did have one ductwork vent I had to work around, not a big deal. But at some point in this journey, I decided, you know what, the wall's already open, I should get a bigger window. And so I also started prepping for a bigger window, basically making the window the size that I think it originally probably was. And because it's on the second floor and it's the wintertime and snow, I didn't feel like carrying a window up the ladder by myself. So I decided to hire a window company, but I prepped the window to maximize the size. And I couldn't put screws in those 2x4s that are horizontal to the vertical ones below the window. So when they worked on the window, when they removed the old one, I went in there and threw a couple screws in real quick. And I wanted the vertical 2x4s to go all the way to the main support beam above the window. So I replaced those, and that made me have to drill new holes for the electric wire to go through. Wasn't that difficult. Probably should have done that before doing the insulation, but not a big deal. Now the window and the wall is all prepped for the window guys. But there you can see I added the screws once they had the old window taken out. They cut out the extra stuff, and now I have the bigger window, which I like that versus the crank windows because the crank windows have such large frames around them. It really reduces the amount of light that goes through it. And this new window lets in so much more light. It's very nice. It's great to look out into the front yard with it. The window installers did a great job installing the window, and to my surprise, they actually installed it from the inside, so they didn't take it up the ladder either, but I didn't know that. Anyways, they put spray foam around the window too, sealed it tight, and then I spray foamed any of the seams below the window, and then installed the drywall. Obviously, don't forget the insulation in between though. And finally, this room, the window ended up tripling the budget of what I thought the guest room was going to cost, and I don't regret it though. The old window was falling apart. A lot of the windows in this house are falling apart. But finished up installing the drywall and moving on. Now with this, this is my first time trying to texture a wall, a large portion of wall. I've used the spray cans before to spot texture. I should have sanded down the two edges though and made it more of a ramp leading up to the old texture with the new texture, because it kind of made it thick in one area. So once it's all done, you can kind of see a faint line of where it connected. I think if I would have sanded it better and then put the texture on, it wouldn't have happened that way. But yeah, it's just pre-mixed mud, and you add water and make it really soupy, and then it looks like an old sea sponge or something, and that's how you roll it on. And then once it dries, you knock it down with like a little rubber squeegee, and it looks really good, honestly. It's the only parts that you notice is the seams where it connects, and obviously it's hard to see the texture on camera, but take my word for it. And then we got the window frame. I got to put that in still too, but clean up all the excess spray foam so it's a flat surface. That's really easy with a razor blade. And then cut up some cheap lumber, because lumber is ridiculous. But I put lumber in there instead of just drywalling and rounding over, because I wanted something that could stand up to a little bit of moisture hitting the ledge. And it looks nicer in my opinion. And we're finishing it up, just caulking up the window, getting it sealed tight, and painting, putting up the baseboards, touching up the ceiling a little bit, spots that missed with the roller, and then adding a baseboard, painting the window to match. Being that it's a brand new window, I did tape up this window because I didn't need to do construction cleanup on it. Painting the door was replaced. It did look like that ugly brown door on the right, and now it's the fancy white door. In hindsight, the amount of money I spent replacing virtually every door in the house, I probably should have just built my own doors. It would have been way cheaper and way more reliable. Those doors are really basically just cardboard. They're hollow, and it's like 1 2x4 makes the whole door. Kind of cheap. Anyways, replacing the light as well. I put in a dual switch, so you can regulate the fan or the light independently of each other, and obviously installing a new fan.
Thanks for watching, and follow along for more Grazeland.